Hello everyone and welcome to episode 3 of Vitamins presented by St. Luke's. I'm Fabian Krislovic and as always I'm joined by Adam Webster. How you doing, Webby?
Well, Fab, you're back from an international trip, a national trip. How was it?
It was pretty good. It was awesome. You know, some really cool experiences. Been to some places for the first time, and I think we spent 2 weeks in some different. We'll say the weather was different than what we got in Hobart at the moment, but that was awesome. Getting some sun, get some heat, and get around there. But it was a good week. We got a lot accomplished, and I think we got better over that time. So set us up well for the long journey ahead.
Any vitamins while you were there, or did we put the vitamins on hold?
No. I know it's always a bit tougher to get them in on the road. You don't have as much court access on it, but we find time. We find time to make sure we're doing our dailies, getting better. So,
what was the funniest thing that happened the whole time you were away?
Funniest thing that happened. Why do you put me on the spot? I'm not too sure. I'd say we'll say Rat had his birthday on the road, and just say because when it's someone's birthday, we always bring him a cake or a cupcake or something. But just the selection of cake was very interesting for Mark's birthday, and I think everyone had a bit of a laugh around that. But we'll leave it there. But that was a fun little memory in Goldie, I think, just before we went over. But no, it was good. Today we're joined by a couple dream team duo behind the scenes for the first time, a bit differently.
That's right.
So they do a massive job in terms of getting us ready for games, keeping us healthy, making sure we're at our best every day. We'll get to them in a bit, but just a quick recap of vitamins, what it means for us. It's just the stuff we do every day at the Jackies that help us get better, whether it's a session with our coaches, some skill work, some film work, something like that, or some extra work with the magnificent duo we have today, RC and H. So, they're awesome. But they've been here from the start. Best in the business. Amen. Making sure we're doing fit, firing at our best. So.
And who better to introduce them than the greatest Australian basketball commentator of all time, John Casey.
But given the way that Tassie have been looked after in terms of the stability of the team, 4 guys have started every game. Milton Doyle every game bar one, and McDonald filled in for him on a night when he was back in the USA. I think we give the footlocker player of the game to the medical staff of Tasmania, who have done an outstanding job and must be the envy of every other team. No other team has been able to have so many players start every game. In fact, only 3 teams have had multiple players do it. And they've done 4, and one guy's missed 1 game.
So today we're joined by Ryan Carroll. He's the head of our high-performance team with the Jackies. He's hailing from a bit all over the place, started in Brisbane, bit of time in Melbourne, but he spent a lot of time in Tassie, up in the northwest in Devonport before coming down with us to start with the Jackies. He's been a physio for the better part of 20 years, and now he's a massive part of not only our team, but he's with the Boomers as well. So he recently a member of the Jackies at the Olympics.
We just get Olympians on here, don't we, Fab?
I know. I think we're running out after this one. We don't have too many more, but he's been an awesome part of the team. So welcome, RC.
Thanks, Fab. Thanks, Webby. Thanks for having me.
And there's been some iconic duos throughout history. You got Batman and Robin. You got Tom and Jerry.
You and Jack.
You said that. Mario and Luigi, and these two, RC and H. Harrison Shaw-Gillott. We call him H. That's what we're going to be talking to him about. He's our head of strength and conditioning. He's come over from Perth. He did some work with Fremantle before joining us. So, H, welcome.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Webby. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
No, it's awesome to have these two. The different look. Then I guess I'm pretty excited to talk to these guys just a bit more from the other side of it because, I'm basketball. I know a little bit about what, we had Mag and Jack on and what they go through. So different aspect of it. It's going to be awesome.
It's great to have you guys on. I mean, we've spoken to some on-court guys. We've obviously got Fab in the room, but you can spill some beans. Obviously, no medical records, guys. That's privileged information. But we can get some insight into what these guys are like in practice, off the court. Particularly Fab. We need to know what this guy's like behind closed doors. He's such a nice guy in this room. I mean, is it the same? Is this guy as nice as he is to me, to you guys?
Yeah, sorry to disappoint everyone, but it is what you see is what you get with Fab. So he's definitely, he does not keep us busy, which is fine by us. So no, Fab's a true pro. So keeps it very simple and straightforward.
Come on, you got to have some story. You got to dish some stuff on Fab. His practices, like what does he do super well? How does he prepare?
No, he's a super organised Fab. Yeah, reliable. The group's just, it's pretty solid top to bottom. Yeah, there's no sort of real characters that you probably have to keep in line as opposed to some of the places just around the traps. But everyone's very professional in their approach, so including Fab, and he sets a standard from the top. So.
As are you guys, right?
Yeah.
It carries itself across to all of the support staff, all the coaching staff, and Fab, it makes your job so much easier when you can rely on everyone in the club, not just the players that you're sharing the court with.
No, it's a massive part of it, and I think it's something that goes definitely doesn't go unappreciated with us, but maybe from an outside perspective looking in, just the work that the high performance staff does in terms of making us ready for every day at practice, one, and also ready for games, and how do we be our best physically. And so it's just a massive part of it. It's a funny job, especially RC, because we always say you don't want to be spending too much time with him, because obviously that means something's wrong. But it's awesome whenever you have little issues, just helping you out and making sure we tick them off, getting as best as we can, and also just preparing for every day.
RC, I want to start with you and talk about injury management, that sort of stuff at a really high level. There's obviously been some longer term injuries at the Jackies over the years. We had Will on the show last time. Must take a tremendous amount of resilience to be able to overcome longer term injuries, and you must be exposed to, the best times, the worst times, and help the players on their journey.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we've been through some definitely some moments and some challenges and journeys with Will in particular, but there's been a few others over the time. I mean, even last year, like Majuk Deng and then Marcus Lee in finals, there's been a number, but you certainly see the true colours and the challenges that those guys face. But it's also really rewarding when you see them coming out the other side and how they obviously improve physically, but how they grow and mature, even just emotionally and mentally. So H and I guess we say you don't want to see us too often, but yeah, we definitely, I guess, have a different kind of relationship than perhaps the coaches have with the players.
Yep. And H, when I think of strength and conditioning, I don't know much about it. I think of all the players gathered around watching the others try and lift the heaviest and cheering each other on or doing the beep test. But what does that mean to you? What does that mean at the Jackies?
Yeah, they're all key aspects, mate. Yeah, everyone loves
the beep test.
Yeah. Something similar. The yo-yo, infamous yo-yo. But no, everyone loves to see Milt on the bench, just putting as many plates up as he can. But no, much similar to what Ryan would have to say. It's very holistic, top down, how much we can influence performance from the program just through every aspect, no matter how big or small. So really, we try and look at every sort of little 1% that we can and try and optimize that for the group as often as we can.
Have you travel with these guys? Yep. They go wherever you guys go, so they're part of the team. They're an intimate part of the team.
Absolutely. What's
it like to share the planes, buses, hotels with these guys?
No, it's always good. Especially we had such a long road trip. We just got back from one, so it was a little bit different, but we had a bit of downtime, and you don't have as much time as you'd like, maybe like to have access to the gym or things like that. So H is always available, like optional like time in the gym. You want to go grab him, and he'll spend however long you want in there, just helping you out with some stuff that want to tick off or make sure you're getting better at. And obviously RC as well on the road. It's taking care of your body is massive, and traveling is it does take a toll on your body. Like you always feel stiff, sore after long times in the plane. So even if it's just check in, what do you need to get done? Just a quick little, maybe a massage, or hey, I got off the plane, legs feeling a bit tight. Do you want to have a look at anything? It's a big part of us trying to, I guess, prepare and become as prepared as possible, I guess, for practice, for games. And yeah, they're always fun to travel with, these two. They do a lot of stuff off the court as well, away from just that, in terms of organizational stuff, where we're going. And RC's he's got his little speaker that he usually brings. That's our go-to on the road in the locker room after a win. He pulls out his little UE boom and we get that going. So, when you travel, it's the whole group kind of as one. So it's a lot of fun when we get to hit the road.
RC, do you control the playlist too, as well as the speaker, or is it a rotational policy? Is there anyone you wouldn't give the access to?
I don't know about that. There probably is, but I know there's a couple of people that I would give it to. The guy to my right, Fab, is definitely one of them.
Okay, right. Bit of mutual musical respect here.
Absolutely.
That's good.
I think at one time, if Fab is on the table, it's usually singing along, so all these microphones here, I'm surprised he hasn't broken out into song yet, but that's definitely his little special skill across all the genres. But no, I guess from a physio point of view, I've worked in clinic for however long, but then working in this role, there's, not a small amount, but there's an amount of physio skills and work that I do. But like H and Fab were saying, it's pretty holistic as well, whether it's, we're all trying to plan for flights with our manager, Matty, as well, or it's working out accommodation or doctor's appointments. There's lots of different moving parts to it all. So, we try and keep across it as best we can.
How do you manage through that, H? There's obviously not access to the gym everywhere you go. Do you have to get really creative with how you engage these guys and make sure that they're tip-top?
I'd like to think so. Yeah, creative as best you can. Probably just what you do, when you travel, you just have to make do with what you have. We have obviously a little S&C kit bag, but you can only fit so much in a suitcase as well. So, but one thing you can fit in a suitcase, is your imagination. So that can obviously.
That's the best quote we've had in the entire show.
Carroll is fantastic.
That is awesome.
He's got them.
Yep.
Yeah, so that can travel with you everywhere. So, as you said, you make do with what you can. Hotel gyms, they range. Some are actually really good, and you could lease them out. But some are stuck a while in the past. So you just have to be creative. And obviously, RC and I have a somewhat of a decent understanding of the group and the sort of their pathologies and what they kind of present with. So we're kind of as forward as we can, as much as we can, to try and make sure everyone's on top of it.
Imagine a place built to make everyone healthier. Visit a St. Luke's Wellness Hub to learn, explore, and be inspired. Just another way St. Luke's is helping make Tasmania the healthiest island on the planet.
We'll talk about the Olympics, Fab.
Yeah,
we've talked about it.
I feel like it's almost a segment at this point.
Absolutely.
It'll be cool to hear RC's perspective on what it was like. Yeah, what was the biggest highlights of the Olympics? Anything that's, I guess, different, obviously, from a normal road trip, things like that, maybe a bit more time, stuff to see? Or
I guess the difference is the length of time, like the tour itself. The Olympics was a 2-week tournament, if you want to call it that, from a basketball point of view, but the actual Boomers' journey was about 7 weeks from selection camp all the way through to when we got knocked out in the quarters. Up until the Olympics, it was kind of like, regular programming, and we're moving around a lot. There was a lot of travel. I think we were in 4 or 5 different places in 5 weeks playing different games. And then once we reached the actual start of the Olympics, we were in our own basketball village. So that was pretty cool with the men's and women's side of the draw. So you had, some of the best players in the world just walking around and hitting the dining hall or lifting in the gym. Giannis is over there lifting with his trainer, and Jokic is then just catching a golf cart down to the dining hall, just random things. They're all just regular kind of people and young guys and girls that they're enjoying themselves. I guess highlight-wise, when we actually got to Paris and made quarterfinals, I was lucky enough when we walked in, I was actually walking behind Will and Jack and just filming and getting their reactions while I was also taking it all in and just seeing Australia House and all the athletes from all the different countries, all shapes and sizes, but they're all at the peak of their powers. So that was pretty impressive. And then I guess, just seeing, Team USA run out on a court, warming up right in front of you, just the size and the physicality and the skill level of those guys was pretty impressive to see close up. So there's a couple of highlights from that aspect.
We talked to Jack and Will about sort of reaching the pinnacle, and this is, one of the pinnacles of your profession as well. You'd be immersed over a 20-year career as a physio. Is there a Nikola Jokic of physios that went to the Olympics? Is there someone who you've done a seminar with or something you're like, wow, that person, I need to get with that person and talk to them about my job?
It has been probably over that 20-year journey, I guess you'd say. There's been plenty of people that I've learned from that have been there and done that. And I've learned plenty from people that I've worked with, and even Dave Hillard's the head of performance and medical team for Boomers, and he's Sydney Kings head of performance as well. So learn heaps from him and our doc. But you just realise, I guess, that obviously you've got all the best athletes in the world, but they've all got the support crew behind them as well. And everyone's just striving, and working as best they can to help their team perform on the day. So catching up with people that I'd studied with and worked with, it was really cool to have everyone all in that same environment.
Yeah, and just to stand on that, do you talk to other physios what they're doing differently with their programs, or is it more kind of just like our Boomers group?
Yes, you do. I guess when the schedules align, because obviously all our energy is going into, for example, Boomers and their support staff's going into their teams, but there's a little bit of downtime and there's common areas that a lot of people are just hanging out in and watching different sports on the TVs with the Australian athletes, which is pretty cool. So you do get some time to catch up with, people that worked with and studied with across the journey, and certainly try to pick their brain, whether it's similarities, basketball to volleyball, jumping athletes, that type of thing, or whether it's team sports versus individual sports. So always try and bring something back, and I just think it just helps our JackJumpers program get better as well.
Absolutely. H, what about from your perspective? Do you have mentors and people that you sort of look up to in the industry that you can talk, apart from RC, that you can talk to and that you can share ideas with?
Yeah, apart from RC, there's always a few. There's always a handful. I've always got a good connection back in Perth and to that football space. But anyone you strike up a conversation with is, as well. There's so much on social media, but you can get a bit distracted down that rabbit hole. So try to avoid that and just prefer to see sort of different sports through different people's lenses. Obviously, I have my own experience, which is always something to reflect on, but it's trying to reach out. I don't know if you've seen your people around the place, and not to say their age and senior, not that old, but just in terms of experience, and they're always good to see and good to talk to and catch up, and just life experience in general. It always helps you approach different problems with different solutions. So.
How important is this role to your team overall, and the role that these guys do in the context of basketball as a sport, particularly with the turnaround time and the travel, as you say?
I just think it's massive, going to, because your body is such a big part of what you do, and so talking to H and when he, especially like in off season times, and going up to him and trying to figure out, okay, what do I want to get better at? How do I do it? What sort of exercises do I need to be doing to try and get me there? And then, so that would be different for everybody. And then also as well, I see it's just a massive part of coming in and, how do I make sure my body I'm not overexerting myself, or how do I make sure that I'm doing the right things, or, this is sore, why do you think that could be, / what do I need to be doing to help me get back on track? So I guess from your guys' perspective, coming to a new group, I guess I've been working with you guys for a couple of years. I think we got a pretty good thing going. So what sort of challenges that comes with, I guess, having a new group of players around you, new people coming in, and new season?
There you go. Everyone they bring themselves with them, right? So past histories, past programs, past tendencies. So it's always good to pick everyone's brain. Everyone's been in a different environment. I wouldn't necessarily say there's challenges, but just different opinions or different paths that people have gone through their training history and whatnot. So working through that with them is always it's part of the job as well, and it's always good to learn from anyone new to the group, as they contribute just as much to the program as obviously myself and Ryan and everyone else as well, all the coaches. You can't forget about them. But it's not necessarily the challenge, but always good to see what people bring.
And I think the benefit for H and I is we're full time with the program as well, which doesn't always happen in programs in the NBL, which might be a bit of a surprise to some people. It's progressing really well. But in the off season, we've had a few guys that have had injuries in the off season, so we're always keeping in touch and just checking in. Fab's generally pretty same, which is awesome for us, but there might be guys that have an injury or they're a little bit sore from something that they might have done differently, so we're always keeping in touch from that point of view. I guess new guys coming into the program, we're always trying to screen them, get an idea of, as H said, what they're coming in with, so that we can try and be a bit proactive. Is this something we need to check out further? Do we need to get a bit more history from maybe their previous club or medical reports, things like that, so just so that we're not faced with any big surprises, I guess.
You mentioned that it's not commonplace in the NBL for these roles to be full-time. That shocks me because, health and well-being and high performance is such a big part of a professional sporting environment. So, the JackJumpers obviously committing to full-time roles. The proof's in the pudding, right? Grand final appearance, semi-final appearance, championship. It's clear that there's some points of difference here, and that's one that you can potentially identify.
Yeah, and there's a few clubs when we first joined that had that similar model. So we definitely picked their brains and found out what worked for them and how we could implement that into our program. But certainly across the league, like the clubs are definitely progressing. It's getting more like that model than what it was, say, I guess 5-10 years ago. So so the value is definitely there and the clubs see that. It's just a matter of then, okay, where are they putting their energies and resources?
You just played back-to-back games in Singapore, and the rotations were obviously changing a little bit game on game. We saw Chicken sort of sit for most of the first one and then come into his own and play a few more minutes in the second and third. But what challenges does it present, firstly for you as a player, and then I'll go to you two in terms of the preparation that you have to do? It's a different environment, it's a different climate. It's, you've just got off a plane 8 or 9 hours from the Gold Coast. What challenges does it present?
The challenges are vast, I would say, large. It's something that I guess I haven't done since I was in juniors, I think 3 games in 3 days. So that was intense. And because obviously, you know, a game's physically draining. You're working really hard, but I feel like I could be wrong, but like the adrenaline you need for each game, like you feel good, and then they come down, like you feel that your body's just drained, sore, it's just tired, like achy, it's hard to sleep, and then so it's like, okay, I have to go to sleep now, and then wake up the next day and do it again. And so it's just a lot of little things to make sure we're preparing. Like we're lucky enough over there. I think we had a couple of days after some games where we had masseuses come in, you know, just flush the body out, make sure, like aid along with that recovery. Maybe it's getting into the pool after the game and doing some movement in there just to try aid, I guess, like the blood flow and movement and help the recovery from that perspective. And then I think as well, like good in making sure. Like I think a couple of days I got in light lift in the weight room we had. Yeah, try and encourage that and do whatever you can to feel good for the next day. But it's definitely a challenge, and thankfully it's one that I don't think we're having again this season. But I guess to a degree, there's definitely like those doubleheader weekends where you play a Friday, Sunday. It's a kind of a version of that. Yeah, where you're just trying to really in your downtime make sure I'm doing whatever I can to feel good tomorrow.
RC, you went to Singapore, you played 3 games in a row. How does that change your cadence? How does it change your ability to help the guys prepare for the load that's on them?
Yeah, I think a lot probably comes back to even weeks or months before we even go. You know, we see the schedule come out. We've got 2 games on the Gold Coast. We've got 3 games in Singapore, like 5 games in 9 days, I think. And all of a sudden you think, okay, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
What can we do to help that? So as Fab said, you know, just organising, I guess, massage therapists. We had a doc, which was connection through one of the Basketball Australian docs as well, or FIBA docs, which came in handy for a couple of scenarios, and just trying to, I guess, plan as best we can. We knew it's going to be tough. I think to our credit, coaches have a pretty good feel for that sort of thing. They would see the schedule as well, and so then you see rotations, and you know, maybe guys that would normally play 30 or 35 minutes might be playing 20, 25, just to try and keep them in check until there's a medal on the line, and it's all in.
A little different.
So yeah, from that point of view, I guess we're looking at it early. I think we've got a couple of other runs of that in the season as well, not as drastic, but yeah, it's probably more from a planning point of view that it becomes important.
Fab talked about doing a light lift. Is it just about trying to balance the need to do the movements that you need to do with the requirement that you have to play 3 games in 3 days?
Yeah, definitely somewhat. I think almost your best instance or your best sort of recovery in that essence lies in your preparation and sort of how long that period is, and I guess what you're used to leading up to such a schedule. And then, finding times when you can to focus on those key areas that you know personally, and as Fab knows or any other player would know, that just keeps them going a little bit, their focus areas. So hitting those little boxes where you can, but also being prepared and doing the work beforehand for the weeks and months that were prior to that or any event. But you can get to something like that, and with no prep, you probably get through, but you'll feel at the back end a lot more as if you weren't prepared. So
I think that's it too. Like, it's not just that moment in time; it's how are these guys going to be in 2 weeks' time or for round 1. You know, because we know it's going to be a tough stretch, but priority is going to be the actual season for us as well. So we want to make sure that we kind of hit that in pretty good health, so that when it really counts, that the guys are still performing.
RCH, the JackJumpers fans obviously don't know as much about you, so we'll go into our first segment.
I think we need to change that to get to know a bit more about these guys. So we'll start with the starting 5 segment is. So to get started, what are some sporting memories of your childhood, and I guess how'd you get into sport in general, or basketball, I guess, because there's different questions.
And basketball. Well, I grew up in Melbourne, let's say, did my schooling in Melbourne. I grew up around the corner from the King Club, as it was back then, which is basically where United are training at the moment. So that used to be the local court where I played basketball as a junior. I played a lot of footy as well, so I was always pretty active in the sports scene, pretty good at most things, but not great at any one thing. So I thought, okay, I can still be involved somehow in sport. And I think looking at the Australian cricket physio back then, Errol Alcott was his name, and you see him running out onto the field, and I thought that'd be a pretty cool job and role to have. So just looked into that more and more, and obviously physio has so many different streams you can get into, but the sports side of things was always high on my agenda. Yeah.
Childhood, yeah. I think just across the board, sport's just such an integral part of the Australian culture. Everyone seems to play everything or do something growing up, and I guess that was somewhat reminiscent of my childhood. I had my summer sport and my winter sport being, summer sport was t-ball, baseball and cricket. That was the kind of the order there. And then I played football. Wanted to play basketball, but could only pick one, and that was the one at the time. And it was just weekends and a bit of an escape and a bit of an outlet. So it was a good time.
When did you guys realise that a career in sport was something that you wanted to do?
Hard to say. Maybe ever since there was a job in sport. I mean, with sport being such a part of my life for a significant period of time, and just hanging around it, when it got time to sort of choosing a career and going sort of, what do I want to do? How can I help someone else? How can I help other people? Kind of narrowed the prospect down a little bit, and it wasn't just solely on sport, but it was definitely an area of interest. And then I guess opportunities came up through university, and then literally professionally after that. And I guess I just stayed in that environment and tried to make the most of what was in front of me that way. So.
Yeah, I guess from my point of view, seen a lot of it, and people I'd studied with were already working at that sort of level, whether it's in AFL or netball or triathlon. So I thought, okay, well, that's obviously a possibility. There's roles out there, but I was just happy, I guess, starting local clubs, and then different periods of time. They're almost sliding doors moments where the timing and opportunity sort of meet. So then there's a role at an NBL1 club. There's a role with some national juniors.
Yep.
It kind of almost organically evolved from there, and obviously Tassie basketball was at a real peak with Hobart and Thunder. I think the COVID year they were both sort of top four when it got shut down, and JackJumpers came along, and there was a role there that everything kind of culminated in that space. But I guess the more you study and the more people that you work with and involve yourself with, you see that it's a real possibility. And now we're fortunate enough to be working in that space.
Where are, I guess, some of the favourite places your career has taken you? And I guess you touched on it a bit, but how did you get involved with the JJs?
Yeah, I guess building on the answer, the evolution of my career saw me land at the JJs, I guess national junior teams, and then working with Northwest Tassie Thunder, NBL, NBL1, and then fortunate enough to get a role as sort of one of three physios with the Boomers at World Cup. That was a big, I guess, feather in the cap, if you like. And so I guess I maybe came on a bit of a radar when Jackie's was being talked about. So, and then the role came up. I think Scott asked a few questions around Perth and a few other places. So it was nice to have my name thrown in the ring. Obviously, being in Tassie for so long helped as well. So I knew the landscape a little bit more. And in terms of obviously where it's taken me, a couple of World Cups and Olympics in some pretty amazing places, like Paris was a pretty special place, and it was good to go and explore after that. But even just some random places you never go, like going to Kazakhstan in the middle. Never would have put that on the bucket list, but here we are. We spent
basketball can definitely do that.
Yeah. Personally, it's taken me places wouldn't have imagined if I was looking at it. Definitely, so very, very grateful for the opportunity, not just here at the JJs, but even just past, at Fremantle and University that way. And just, it's been great. Obviously through uni, there was a prac opportunity I got in conjunction with Fremantle. The doc was there. And then so did my third year there and at Subiaco in the Waffle under sort of Jason Webber and Dan Hiscock, respectively. They were the sort of the two senior guys in charge at both those clubs. And got to the end of the third year, didn't really know what I wanted to do, and then got opportunity to go further study and do honours. So did that at Fremantle, was really grateful for that, and then finished that and didn't really know what I was going to do after that. And then the S&C job sort of popped up down at Peel. Obviously, it's the Fremantle sort of Alliance club, and started work that way, and I sort of hung around between the two and did a few little private things. And was involved with that sort of AFL setup for probably 4 or 5 years in total, which sort of brings us sort of to 2021, which is when the JackJumpers were starting up. And obviously, there were a few connections in Perth, and a few, obviously, Scott was from Perth, or the Wildcats at the time. Prior assistant coach, obviously, Jacob Chance at the time as well. So Perth's relatively small, that sort of sport network, so you kind of get to know some people here and there. And then, fortunate enough to get an interview and to come across over there. And, it's just been a great move.
Who have been, I guess, some of the most influential people that you've had in your career and your life?
Professionally, probably sort of my two supervisors at the start. Yep. So Jason Webber, who was the high performance manager at Fremantle I think he worked there for sort of 10, 12 years plus. And he's had a tremendous experience with national sports and was the first kind of person at that level that I'd really met. So it was great to sort of pick his brain and I guess develop as much as I could at there. And obviously the other staff at Fremantle that were really good, that were still there, sort of Dan Zachnich, Jackson Dennis, those sort of guys. They were great to know. Michael Dobbin as well. So just experienced heads there, great to learn off. And then personally, probably a mate called Brett from Perth. Just, go through certain life experiences at certain stages. And, it's definitely a good friend to have.
Me, I mean, life-wise, my parents, mum and dad, we've got a very close-knit family. They've always been super supportive and people I look up to just in terms of their work ethic. And they've moved around a little bit as well. So as have I. A bit of a journey between Queensland and Melbourne and back to the Gold Coast, back down to Tassie a few times. But just seeing how they make the best of those situations and do what's best for their family, for us. So definitely from that point of view, and there's just nothing but support. So it's great. They're all over the country. So anywhere the JackJumpers play, they usually front up to games. And so that's really cool. And then professionally, certainly in Tassie landscapes, a couple of big Tassie basketball names in terms of Phil Thomas and Nick Haywood. They gave me my first chance at NBL 1 level and gave me a bit of a voice. So I was really involved in that space, which has no doubt helped me down this path. And then I guess just the people I've worked with, especially the national teams in terms of Dave Hillard, Paula Peralta, who are the lead physios at Boomers and Opals respectively. They're probably two of the sort of professional influences for me. And hopefully we bring that back to our JackJumpers environment and we get everything a lot stronger and things are running really smoothly.
And to finish it off, what is your why?
My why? I think it comes down to physios generally, we like to help people, and so I think breaking it, especially in the sporting landscape, it's more helping these guys in particular get the best out of themselves, so they want for nothing. They don't have to worry about anything else than performing on the court. So I think it probably ties into a lot of different things, not just the basketball and the athletes, but just helping people achieve their best and trying to be a good person as we do it. So I think that's as simple as it is for me.
Yeah, I'd say mine's not too dissimilar. It is a tough question, but I'd say it's just trying to make someone a little bit better than what they were in that sense, or try to help them really be able to cope with the demands of, obviously my job is the sport or activity, but I guess life in general, just trying to help someone in some sense.
So we've got a topic to discuss on behalf of St. Luke's. They want to make Tasmania the healthiest island on the planet, and you guys are all about health and well-being, all about movement, all about high performance. We want to talk about the importance of movement for all people. We've got so many Jackies fans watching this that, might lead sedentary lifestyles, go into office work and that sort of stuff, and not have the opportunities to be able to move in the way that they want to, and probably lacking a little bit of direction in that space, guys. So, RC, I'll start with you. For movement overall, what does that mean if you're someone who's maybe needs to move a little bit more, or you're already moving and you want to increase your intensity?
Personally, I love the St. Luke's drive, their vision. It's amazing when we're up in Launceston and I heard that. It's such a fantastic goal to try and strive for, especially in Tassie, where there's definitely some higher rates of comorbidities and things like that. So in terms of movement, we all know and we hear about how important it is. Everyone's got a different starting point, obviously. So I guess it doesn't matter where you start from, but just doing a little bit more than what you currently are is enough of a start. So whether it's, you hear about people just walking around their backyard, once or twice, or walking around the kitchen bench, whatever it might be. Some people it's walking around the block or walking the dog, and for others it's then, running Point to Pinnacle, or it's entering a triathlon or whatever it might be. So I think something is better than nothing, and everyone's got a different starting point. So something little and often is as good a start as those that are at the highest level.
H, you talk about strength and conditioning. When people are attacking a gym for the first time or attacking that sort of environment, they might not know how to approach that. Is there any advice you'd be able to give to people out there, the fans, for how to approach that problem and get us to a point where you can be confident entering that environment?
Yeah, sure. It can be quite intimidating for some as well. I understand I worked at a gym for a period of time, but I guess you kind of got two ways to go about it. Obviously, you can go, the gym's a great space, like it's a purpose-built space. You go and you exercise, and like I say, you can go with a friend if you know someone that way. If you have a good trainer or know someone that way, most trainers know are pretty respectable in some sense and quite welcoming. But if you can't sort of make it to a gym, you make your environment around you a gym or a space where you can do something as well. So starting small, as RC mentioned, and just sort of getting used to doing something and getting that confidence, whether it be at home, the park, anywhere. You don't necessarily need to go to a gym to work out, to exercise. But it's a great space for it. But just starting small and getting confidence that way.
I'm picturing Sylvester Stallone in Rocky IV in Russia, like using all the running up the snow hills and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
I was going to say, I don't know if you, every game day, I think, and maybe other days, RC and H, and when we're on the road, they always got their little Jackie's Run Club. Okay. So you say, I'll wake up in the morning, I'm trying to get a big sleep, and I'll usually wake up as late as possible and then, check social media, and then he's got a nice little photo from RC just highlighting their run. So I'll just, a couple of things, like how do you find, I guess obviously you do that, stay in shape, but one, what's your favorite little Jackie's Run Club that you've had? And two, how do you find that helps you, I guess, attack the day physically and mentally?
Well, you've been running the run club longer than me, I see, but I'll start the question. Favorite run club, probably Singapore, just most recent, and a few little Komodo dragons running around the place. They were the monitor lizards, I believe, is what they're called.
Yep.
They officially are, but they do get to a decent size. I can attest to that.
A little intimidating, H, or what?
Yeah, definitely. Me to them, that is. But no, it's a great start, and I think it kind of goes back to what RC was saying, and just doing something. And it's obviously a strong part of his own philosophy, and I'd probably say mine personally as well, just to tick something off during the day. Everyone's life is different, whether it be office, we probably have somewhat active jobs, but we don't always have the time as well to put in half an hour, 45 minutes or more, as we probably would like to, on intent exercise. So just finding little things to keep us going, whether it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or we get a run here and there. And as you say, it sets us up for the day. You check that box and the day's there, the day's yours, time to go to work. So.
Yeah, I think Run Club, we almost run solo, don't we? On different schedules, but a lot of it's to do with time. Like I feel like that's the only window of time the two of us kind of get on a game weekend, because there's so many other duties and events on our schedule. So game day run becomes a bit of a thing. And I know a few people kind of look out for it almost now and then get a bit worried if I don't do it. But I also find, I think that's one other thing I got from my dad. Used to run a lot as well, in terms of just for physical health, but also like just mental health, just think out your problems or get the endorphins, the happy hormones going, and just kind of, as H said, sets you up for the day. So yeah, I definitely notice if I don't run, if we go, like our schedule recently has been pretty taxing. So just feeling tired and grumpy, and then you go for a run or you do some form of exercise and you think, that's what's been missing, either that or a good night's sleep. That definitely helps as well. Yeah. So yeah, always. And I guess we like to practice what we preach as well. We can't expect these guys to do what we're trying to get them to do if we don't not show them the way, but follow that lead as well.
As the experts, what does that have as an impact on your overall, well-being, productivity, and then long-term, just to start moving and start being able to put those building blocks into place, RC? Yeah,
consistency is definitely key. As I said, if you miss a few weeks here and there, I definitely feel the effects of it, losing fitness, but also just not feeling well, I guess, or healthy, or as I say, get a bit tired and grumpy. So that certainly helps. But yeah, consistency is definitely important in that space, I feel. But it could be anything. It doesn't have to be the run. It could just be, we've got Ziggy, our border collie, at home, and he definitely encourages us to get out a couple of times and even just walk on the beach and get out in nature, just be mindful, and that certainly helps, just getting moving rather than just roll out of bed, grab a coffee and head to work. I think it just almost clears your mind a little bit more, and then you're ready to have a really productive day and help these guys on court.
H, it's a mindset thing, right? And you're all about the high performance mindset. So if you're able to curate that early and get that out of the way, how does that set you up for the day and allow you to be your best self?
It depends on a lot of things, really, but I think, as RC said, brought his dog into it. You're able to exercise in so many ways. Like you go for a walk with your partner, your family, your dog, anyone. You have a conversation there that you want to have, or you might not want to have, or you do something you check off, and it's just a little check box, little hurdle that you've crossed, and just that little small hurdle sets you up, and then you know how to approach problems through the rest of the day. And it's just, it's a physical one, obviously, but then you see what you're able to do, and then everything else becomes a little bit more clearer, a little more sharper, and you checked one box. Why not do another one? So.
Fab, you had a huge year last year, and we talked to Will about how you come down from that and you feel sore and you feel tired. That, I'm sure a lot of people watching can relate and listening can relate to that.
Yep.
How do you pick yourself up from that and sort of start that momentum again?
Yeah, I was thinking about that because I think momentum is such a real thing. Obviously, after a long season, we took a bit of time away from, I guess, the intensity of our physical schedule. We're not training for a couple of hours every day, especially for that first couple of weeks after when we got done. But then, like, that first, I guess, week back it's a lot tougher once it's like, okay, I need to get back into my routine. I'm waking up every day. I'm working out. I'm going to the gym, getting my lifts in. I'm getting the court, getting those shots in. But then once, I guess, you start building that routine back, it's a lot easier to stick with it. And I think RC kind of touched on it. I guess you feel like the endorphins get going, the hormones. You just feel it becomes a lot easier, becomes a lot more natural, as opposed those first little bit is it's tough. Those first couple of days, it's like kind of walking through mud a bit. But then it just gets easier, and then once that routine's built, it just becomes so much easier to push yourself further and further. And I realize, I guess, that I'm lucky in that
your job's to exercise, right?
Yeah, I was going to say in that regard. But I notice as well when, with that little period post-season, I'm not working out because honestly, I was just like, I need some time away. But it gets to a point where you just start feeling a bit slow, everything just becomes a bit tougher, just mentally draining everything. And then I think that's kind of the point where, like, hey, I need to start getting back. I need to start building myself back into my routine, because I guess we maybe push our body beyond maybe a healthy amount, because obviously we're trying to perform. Yeah. And we've catered so much to that. So, but then like building, once we get rid of that completely, it is a different challenge. So it just makes you realize how important moving is and how much it enhances life, I guess. So it's something that is very, very important.
RC, is the biggest barrier to this mindset, do you think? Like, is it just, obviously some people have physical ailments and that sort of stuff, but is the biggest barrier just not knowing how to get off the couch and do it? I know for me, that's what I've struggled with in the past as well. Like, just getting that momentum has been difficult, as you say, the first few days. But for someone who doesn't do it every single day as a job, it might be the first few weeks until you start to feel that momentum.
Yeah, and I guess it's easier to either continue doing what you're doing, to do something different or change that.
Yeah.
So it's much easier just to say, no, I'll start it tomorrow. And then the next day you say the same thing. Oh, no, I didn't sleep that well. I'll start it tomorrow. So that they say the first day getting into that is the hardest. Second day is the next hardest. And then you start to build some consistency. So mindset, definitely one thing, but there's probably ways you can try to combat that, whether it's having a friend to keep you accountable, to go for a walk around the block, if it's having a goal to strive towards, whether it's a fitness goal, a health goal, maybe you enter a fun run or a walk or whatever it might be. Just something that you've got as that carrot to try and strive for. So there's a few little strategies, I guess, that can help with that. You don't want to wait for a big event to kind of kick you into gear, so to speak. So, but it is difficult for sure to get going again. And you hear even from Fab, guys that are at the top of their game, it's still tough to get those wheels in motion again.
I want to ask you about the other side of that, rest, overdoing it. These guys obviously are pushing themselves to the boundaries of their physical abilities, but for everyday people as well, they might be overdoing it at different times and they might be trying to do a little bit too much. How do you dial back and how do you approach that problem?
Simply, it would probably just be you probably know, your body knows more than what you think, and trying to be in tune with what your body's telling you. If you're stressed, anxious, can't sleep, do all those sort of things, and if you're doing all that, you're doing a lot of exercise and struggling with sleep, or you say you're overstressed or everything, maybe you need to tone it back. Probably just listening and being aware of your own circumstances outside of the exercise bubble. It's never an easy one to juggle, but sleep's one of the best things you can do for rest, just in general. Making sure you're getting just a little box like that and ticking that box every day. If you can get your 8 hours, great, you set yourself up well, and then worry about all the extras on top of that.
We talked to Jack about sleeping and sleep anywhere, but how did you go with sleeping between Gold Coast, Singapore, Perth? There's a different time zones.
Yeah. I was actually, I think maybe it was just exhaustion. I was catching up on sleep the whole time. I slept pretty well. But yeah, it's just such an important part. I just remembered a couple of those days where, I think we had 2 nights where I got like 4 hours of sleep, and those next days you're just struggling, and then the next night of sleep is like 10 hours. You wake up, you just feel like you just got punched in the face.
Yep.
I have a couple of those nights where it's like, oh, my alarm's going to go in 6 hours. Oh no, I'm still sleeping 5 hours, and just with us, you get up, you're like, oh, today's going to be a tough day at training. One thing I wanted to know, because obviously your guys' role is helping people perform at their highest. How do you look back at your day, and is there something where you're like, oh, I had a really good day today? Or I guess, what's your feedback from your performance, and how do you know you're at your best?
It's a tough question. I want RC to go first. But, don't know how to answer that one. Probably the same barometer that you guys use, but obviously if we're not doing exercise or not performing, we're not playing basketball or anything like that, but you're able to self-reflect, and I think it's one of the skills that probably RC has that I hope I have some capacity, but to be able to critically reflect on your day, and did you make the right decisions? Did you could you have done more here or there? Did the structure of the day turn out as to what you had planned? And it goes back to so many of those first principles in terms of planning, like our season, our work days, our own sort of personal lives, and just trying to tick as many boxes as what we can, and just falling back on them. So that's a good day if we stick to our principles.
I was just thinking from what H was saying, I feel like I'm constantly critically reflecting, because there's so many different things that happen in a day.
Yeah.
Whether it's managing sore bodies, injuries, planning for different session if guys we have to modify, or appointments they have to get to, or coaches you have to talk to about certain things. And I feel like my brain goes a million miles an hour, so I can feel pretty exhausted at the end of the day. But having my partner Sui at home, like if we go for a walk, or I tend to find I'm talking a lot more these days, and just reflecting on the day. But I'm always sort of trying to work out what else can we do to improve this situation, or was that the right call? And I've got a couple of people that that check in with me reasonably regularly, which I'm thankful for, and can always just sort of chew the fat with them, and there's no judgment, but you get it off your chest. And some of them are in the JackJumpers environment, and some of them are from previous friendships and workplaces. So that definitely helps. But I feel like it's a constant in my brain.
I was just curious because we get so much feedback. I guess as a basketball player, we see so much about it. So just what you guys do is it's pretty cool. But now moving on.
Oh, your favourite time?
My favourite time. We're gonna be feeling fab right now. A little quick fire, okay? Just to straighten it up. I'm just gonna ask a question. RC then H every time. So quick fire questions. All right. Coffee order.
Double shot cappuccino.
Small flat white.
Nice. Love that. Favorite childhood TV show?
I'm going to say Simpsons.
Bear in the Big Blue House.
What? Nice. That's incredible, H.
Great pull.
There's definitely showing age here.
Yeah, that's wow.
And Simpsons.
First car.
My first car was a Toyota Corolla hatchback, and it was like a green colour. It was pretty cool.
2008 Holden Red cab chassis with 35,000 Ks on the clock, manual, 5-speed,
beautiful,
3-wheel drive.
Nice. Do you
want to give us more specs, H, or that's a lot of specs?
I just thought that's what you wanted.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Big cargo.
Now you both drive Mazdas.
Who is the most interesting player to work with one-on-one?
Jeez, how do you quickfire this? Most interesting player one-on-one.
Or funniest?
Weeksy comes to mind. Joe Weeks.
Yeah.
I can't double up.
Took my answer.
Walt Brown.
Walt Brown. I love it.
There you go.
Favorite Jackie's jersey?
The retro jersey, like the old school Devils jersey. Championship jersey, the yellow. I love that.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'll stick with retro, but since RC went to, I'll go that and the teal.
Yeah. Nice. That one's always good. Star signs?
Pisces.
Scorpio.
Favorite app on your phone?
Instagram.
Music.
What are you watching, reading at the moment, listening to?
Reading a book called Optimal, which is kind of trying to emulate getting your flow state, but more consistently. Mm-hmm. And watching TV series called Slow Horses. Get around it. Very good.
There you go.
Nice. Last book I read, finished was Meditations, Marcus Aurelius. Last one I finished. Currently watching Parks and Recreation again with partner. So.
What is your favorite food?
Pasta.
pasta.
These guys.
Wow. He's in a
they're on
pod.
the-
Yeah,
these two. That's why they're the two.
Not Guzman.
That shocks a lot of people.
When they come to Hobart.
When they
That will
come-
shock.
A lot of
Guzman will go up the list when we get them in Hobart. We've been campaigning for that for a while, I think.
Yep.
And then what is one thing you do to stay healthy every day?
every day.
Oh,
Running's a key one for me. Yeah.
Reflect and running.
running. Yeah. Or not the bike arrow?
Not at the moment.
Not at the
Yeah,
moment.
Not at the moment.
We'll go back there.
Great to have you guys on. That's all we have time for. It's Vitamins, presented by St. Luke's. Make sure you follow the Jack Jumpers across our social media channels to stay up to date on everything as we continue the NBL 25 season. A huge thanks once again to our friends at St. Luke's. Thanks for joining us. And Fab, another exciting episode on the way in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks for being on, guys. Lovely to have some behind the scenes action.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.